Hello everyone. Today we'll be talking about the Strait of Hormuz. So we will be talking about the strategic and geopolitical analysis on that. This is a most critical maritime choke point in the era of Iran and Israel confrontation, which is going on since last 1.5 months. Okay, so Strait of Hormuz is a very primary artery, like it's like a heart artery for the global energy market. It is connecting the Persian Gulf to the Gulf of Oman. It remains the only sea passage for billions of dollars of the oil and gas export from the OPEC nation, oil and petrol exporting countries nation. So right now there is right now tension between Iran and Israel that is happening on. Now it's looked like a shadow war. Now it has come into the full-fledged war, maritime confrontation, which is threatening the stability of 20% of the world daily oil supply, right? So we'll be talking like how the geography favors the Iran naval tactics, how the global economy is 84% dependent on this route. There are a lot of ship shearer that are going on, which is again telling about the tactical escalation that are happening. So let's see what is the geography of the Hormuz, Strait of Hormuz. Approximately, it is 167 kilometer in the nautical mile. It is called as 90 nautical miles, and the narrowest point when it is come is around 33 kilometer. That is 21 mile between Iran and Oman. That is the narrowest point where you can have it. Okay, so there are various shipping lanes are there. So traffic separation schemes where the consists of 2 3 kilometer wide lanes are there, separated by a 3 kilometer buffer zone is there. Okay, so there is a good amount of depth is there in this whole Strait of Hormuz, where the large ultra large crude carriers are taking the crude from one place to the other place. Okay, now Iceland's sovereignty. So Iran control various series of strategic islands over here. Okay, so there are Kusham Island, largest island hosting significant naval facility. Abu Musa and Tumba, this disputed with the UAE but occupied by Iran. Okay, these again overlook the shipping lanes. Hormuz Island is there, which is commanded the very entrance of the strait. Who is commanding? Iran itself is commanding. So the global oil vein, economic significance in the market data. If you see here the market data, Strait of Hormuz, there are four straits are there: Strait of Hormuz, Strait of Malacca, Suez Canal, and Bab el Midab. Under that, Strait of Hormuz is the transition of 21.0 million barrel per day of oil is taking place. That means it is one of the highest volume of oil which is transferring from this route. Okay, so 84% of the crude oil which is coming from this strait is destined for Asian market. China is the largest importer, approximately 6.0 million barrel per day. Then India is also having a highest dependency for the domestic consumption. Japan and South Korea are also being very critical to the national energy security. If there is any disruption that is happening in Hormuz, it will provide shock wave to the Asian market first. Okay, and from this market itself, LNG transit, that is 20% of the LNG market of the global liquefied natural gas, which is coming mainly from the Qatar, is passing through here annually. Okay, now what is coming in the military chessboard? Naval doctrines and international presence. So if we go by anti-access area denial, okay, Iran is utilizing a swarm tactic, IRGC Navy, to neutralize the large Western vessel. Okay, what Iran is doing right now is they are having fast attack craft. These are very fast speed boats are there, which are armed with missiles. They have a naval mines which are being developed under the Strait of Hormuz, which are very close to strait. So anytime they can hit, any ship can hit these mines. Coastal defense like Silkworm and Noor missiles are being batteries along the cliff of the northern coast. So every part of this strait has been fully controlled by the Iran. Now international maritime security, US 5th fleet, okay, which is again based in Bahrain. US 5th Fleet Overseas Security Operation over Strait of Hormuz. IMSC, which is International Maritime Security Construct, include nations like UK, Australia and Saudi Arabia. they have created a kind of a deterrence. Okay, they are preventing the Iran from acting on the threats of the closure, escort these international under the international maritime security. US ships are being provided with escort facility, high value tankers are being provided with the escort facility. Now what is the Iran Israel maritime front? Escalation from the shadow war to a direct action. Okay, so how it has developed from a shadow war to a full-fledged war. So in 2019-21, there was a series of lymphatic mines that are attacked on the Israel and the Western linked tankers. That is Mercer Street. Iran denied any kind of involvement in all these attacks. Then came the Grey Zone operation designed to damage the ship without targeting, without triggering, triggering any kind of full-scale war, disrupting the Israel logistics. Then we have a cyber attack special operation where mutual hacking of the port authorities and ship tracking system are being hacked. Okay, then happens MSC Ares incident in April 13, 2024. It's a major escalation that has happened. IRGC Navy Commando seized the Portuguese flagged MSC Ares in the Strait of Hormuz via helicopter boarding. Okay, so this ship was linked with the Israeli billionaire Ayel Ofer. This marked the first time Iran has explicitly used the strait as a retaliatory level for a land-based strike. Okay, so this is the first place where direct action has been taken. Then the Israel maritime vulnerability, everybody know there is a lot of vulnerability is there because trade choke points. Israel depend on the maritime trade for the 90% of its import. Okay, so anything which is coming to Israel has coming through the imports from the sea itself. Okay, so but Hormuz, the Strait of Hormuz is not the primary port access, but Hormuz effect is always there. Because if there is any kind of change in the Hormuz that are happening, so global oil price spikes all of a sudden after, and it is affecting the Israeli economy. Then insurance premium for any ship will go up, that will go skyrocketing. Then supply chain delay will also be happening for Asian electronics and goods medium. So this conflict is going through decades. Okay, timeline of tension, the tanker war is all going, so in from 1980 to 88 tanker wars are happening. Iraq and Iran are attacking 500 plus commercial vessels. Then 2011-12 sanction threat has happened. Iran has been threatened with closure over nuclear sanction. Then in 2009 mine attack has happened. Tankers are being targeted. UK tankers Steno Improlo has been seized. Then Mercer Street has happened. Drone attack killed 2 on Israeli linked ship. And 2024-25 direct conflict happened. Hormuz became the active frontation of the Israel war. So this is how a war has been developed from 1980s to 2004 and 25. So there was a legacy of the tanker war is there. So during the Iran-Israel war, Iran and Iraq war, both sides attempted to choke the other oil revenues. This led to the Operation Earnestville, where the US Navy escorted the Kuwaiti tankers. So what is the lesson that we have to learn? Military escort can keep the lanes open, but at what massive risk of the naval mines? There are mines are there. How much military you can put over there? You need to put a lot of military in order to keep your things secure. Then insurance rates are tripling. Hormuz has become a war zone, so anybody who is going there and coming from there, they have to pay a huge premium cost of the insurance, right? So, and there is a lot of economic risk and shock waves are there. So how we can see, like we will analyze the price volatility and insurance. What is at stake? $150 oil price per barrel forecast is there. Like if the war continues, the oil price may go $150 per barrel. 14 million barrel per day with no bypass option. 25% global oil trade share will go down. And if a full closure would trigger a global recession, like if there is a full closure of the Strait of Hormuz happen, there will be a global recession with more severe impact throughout the Asian market, throughout the East Asian market. Now, how you can bypass the strait? So there are a lot of things that has been said in the news and various other medias. Like there is a pipeline infrastructure that can be developed from one place to other. If you can see, there are various type of pipelines are there. One is Southeastern Western Pipeline that transport oil from the Red Sea to the other part of that area. 5 million per day per barrel is the capacity of that. Then there is the Abu Dhabi pipeline which is linking Habsan to Fujairah, that is 1.5 million barrels per day. Then we have a Iran Jask terminal is there, a project to export oil from the outside to the Gulf limited capacity. So what is the reality right now is total bypass capacity is less than 25% of the current transit volume. That means even if you bypass the things, you can only create 25% of the bypass capacity. Okay, you cannot create 100% of the bypass capacity. So you are still dependent of the Strait of Hormuz. Now beyond oil and container logistics, so global trade transshipment, so port like Jebel Ali in Dubai are critical global hubs are there. Closure doesn't just stop oil, it halts the flow of electronics, machinery and consumer, because ships are not carrying oil, ships are carrying many other things. 33 million TEU per year transit Gulf port. Jebel Ali has a 65% transshipment ratio, meaning it is the warehouse of the world where a lot of goods comes there, from there it goes there, so full closure is not a good option. Then we have a biodiversity is also at risk. So Persian Gulf is a semi-enclosed sea with slow water turnover. So there is no proper mixing of the water is happening. Like if there is any kind of attack happens, if the oil spill happens, or if there is any tanker that is stuck by any missile, would be catastrophic. Destruction of coral reef will happen. Dugong habitats, shutdown of the desalination plant will happen because that is a primary source of water for the Gulf nation. Fishery collapse, all of a sudden whole fishery collapse will happen. Now what we can say about the main conclusion. So final assessment says that the Strait of Hormuz is the ultimate weapon in the hand of the Iran, Middle East for Iran. It is a lever of deterrence for Israeli, it is a point of vulnerability for the world, it is a systematic risk. So what we can do? Expect continued gray zone activities over there. We need to have an international naval force is the only barrier which can put the current tension under the control. Okay, so there is need for further look. We need to provide international naval forces at that places so that that area remains open for all. So this is all for today. Thank you so much. The images are being taken from these sources. Thank you so much for providing me the images. I will be coming in the next video. Thank you so much. Bye bye.